Time to play the game. Time to play the game. It's all about the game and how you play it. All about control, and if you can take it, all about your debt. And if you can pay it, it's all about pain. And who's gonna make it? I am the game, you don't wanna play me. I am control, no way you can shake me. I am heavy debt, no way you can pay me. I am the pain, and I know you can't take me. Look over your shoulder, ready to run.
Hello everyone, I'm your host Jay Houslander of the Junior Hockey Network Hockey Show, and I'm here today with the Superior International Junior Hockey League Commissioner Bryan Graham. How are you today, Bryan?
Good, Jay. How are you?
Good, good. My first question, you have a big week this week in Eveleth, Minnesota. You have 42 players in the Superior International Hockey League that are coming into Minnesota on Wednesday the 29th. Can you talk a little bit about the background of the All-Star Game and the benefit, how it benefits the SIJHL?
Sure, Jay. And again, thank you for having me on. When I took over the league, this is my fourth year now, I was kind of looking at different ways that we could start up an all-star game concept again. And after looking at a few options, I kind of kept coming back to this kind of Canada versus USA format, because obviously with two American teams and some of our Canadian teams carrying US-born players as well, we have a good mixture of American and Canadian players in our league, obviously. So I thought the kind of border battle concept would be a good way to go, basically with the fact that, it would be a competitive game, and anytime a player is fortunate enough to pull on a jersey with his of his country, that adds to the incentive to go out and play hard and win. And it was a chance to have an early showcase for our college and junior scouts. So we just kind of came up with this idea, and then the more I thought about where to hold it, our team in Minnesota, in Hoyt Lakes, Minnesota, the Minnesota Iron Rangers, play only about 20 minutes away from Eveleth, Minnesota, which is the home of the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame, and they have a great historic old building there called the Hippodrome, and it's right in on the Iron Range in the state of hockey. So the more we looked at it, we just thought, we'd take it to Eveleth, and it would also give some exposure for our league and for our team, the Minnesota Iron Rangers, down there in Hoyt Lakes, because there are quite a few communities in and around Hoyt Lakes, like Virginia and Gilbert and Wabash, Minnesota, and Eveleth, obviously. So, that's part of the reason why we wanted to take this event down there. And it's been, we've been greeted with open arms, and we've created quite a bit of a buzz in the communities around there with the game. So we're hoping to have a lot of hockey fans out on Wednesday night for the SIJHL Showcase All-Star Game.
Now, as a commissioner, what messages to the players from these 6 teams in the SIJHL? What can you tell them? What does it mean to be a part of these festivities?
Well, like I said before, I think anytime you have a chance to represent your country, that's a great honor. And I think a lot of the players have obviously embraced that. I think what's going to be interesting, too, is that we're going to have teammates who play alongside each other all year long during the regular season that will be opposing each other in this All-Star Game as well. So that's an interesting concept as well. We're going to have a skills competition, so that's another way for the players to show what they have. And, it's obviously an honor anytime that you're selected to be an All-Star. And unfortunately, we've had a few players get hurt since the original announcement, but they're going to be coming in to take part in the events and the off-ice events at least. And, it's just a great way for us to showcase our league and to give players another reason to come and play in the SIJHL.
And that's exactly like last week's show. I have Wayne Strahan on every week, and talking to Wayne last week and talking about his 8 players that are being involved, or I guess 7 with 1 player hurt, about the rivalry, like after who wins, and him being on the bench for Team Canada, but after who wins and they go back to, like you say, back to their teams, it's a little bit of bragging rights, because now with this time of year, we're all preparing, hockey fans preparing for the World Juniors, right? So they're giving them a little bit of, like I say, a little bit of rivalry, but a little bit of bragging rights after the All-Star Game, right?
Yes, for sure. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of trash talk in that, depending on who wins and who loses, and a lot of good fun with it. So, we're really looking forward to it. Like I said, we've had great response down there for tickets and for corporate partners that have come on board, and and U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame. All the players are going to get a tour of the Hall of Fame on Wednesday afternoon after the morning skate. So yeah, it's a great way for these might be a little bit of the dog days of the season right now, and this is kind of a refreshing change, and pull on a different sweater and represent your country. So I think it's going to be great, and we're really looking forward to it.
And like there's always questions about expansion throughout the CJHL, and with economic hit the last couple of years in Northern Ontario and in Minnesota. Now, with having the All-Star Game there, or possibly, like I say, Kenora is another one in Ontario, does that help with maybe that area of maybe putting a team there eventually?
Well, for sure. We're always looking at different markets. You mentioned, as Kenora last year, we had a regular season game played there during Hockey Day in Canada. It was a great event, a great game. We had Fort Francis and English River play there, the English River Miners based out of Red Lake, Ontario. And it was a fantastic game. Fort Francis won 5-3 with an empty net. We sold the building out. 2,050 fans were there. And, of course, Ron McLean and Don Cherry were there as well as part of the Hockey Night in Canada broadcast on the Saturday night. And, that's a market definitely that we're looking at. They have to go and get some arena issues, fixed out before we have a chance to go in there. They do definitely need a second sheet of ice in Kenora to accommodate us, and we're hopeful that that's going to happen sooner than later. And in the United States, obviously, with us being so close to the border and having two teams already, we definitely look at different markets now. USA Hockey has to give us approval on those, and sometimes that's a process, and sometimes it's a yes and sometimes it's a no. But we're definitely looking forward to expanding this league out. I mean, I envision this league hopefully being at about 10 teams in 2 to 3 years. And I think we'd be quite comfortable with that, to have a 10-team league, as long as we keep up the competitive nature of the league and the parity, and make it competitive for all the players and a place to advance to the next level.
And I've talked to a few coaches in the SIJHL over the last year or two, and sometimes there's a little bit of misconception about the SIJHL, and I think it's more where you're located, not the caliber of the hockey in Northwestern Ontario. But is it just harder to get potential prospective players to those 6 cities because of where the SIJHL is located?
I think in some of the markets, Jay, that's, I'm sure it's a concern for parents, and players when they're looking at possibly being recruited to our league. But, we have some beautiful buildings. Obviously, the one in Thief River Falls, the Ralph Engelstad Arena, is, one of the beautiful, nicest buildings, in junior hockey. And, I think it is, over the years, we are in, the middle of Canada and parts of the U.S., obviously down in Minnesota. But I think, the league has come a long way in the last few years, especially. Dryden and Dryden GM Ice Dogs are hosting the Dudley Hewitt Cup this year. Last year, Dryden went down into the Dudley Hewitt Cup and knocked off the Georgetown Raiders in the first game of the Dudley Hewitt Cup. So it's definitely where our league is coming along. It's every year we get more and more players advancing to the next level. In fact, a couple of years ago, we were the 5th highest league in the CJHL percentage-wise in advancing players to the next level. So, we are doing a good job. We are getting more exposure. We're getting better players in this league. And I think for the people that have, heard some negative things about our league, I think the kids that come here find it to be a great experience, and always have good things to say when they leave and move on.
And that's exactly like the next question I was going to ask is, can you touch a little base on a player like Fort Francis Lake alumni Cole Tipkin, his advancement from the SIJHL to the OHL London Knights? That's a huge feather in the cap for the league, isn't it?
For sure. Like, Cole was our rookie of the year in the SIJHL, his 1 year in Fort Francis. And like you said, drafted by London, moved on to play for the London Knights, attended the Dallas Stars development rookie camp over the summer. So that's just one example. And, Bradley Belisle, who was our rookie of the year the previous year to Cole with the Thunder Bay North Stars, received a D1 scholarship to Bemidji State University. Now, he went to the USHL and is still playing junior. But, back-to-back years, we had our rookies of the year, get a D1 scholarship offer, and also a player moving on to the OHL. And, I mean, that just goes to show you a couple of examples of players that have moved on, and have been recognized as quality players in this league.
Now, with only 2.5 months, I guess, into the SIJHL season, can you touch base on how the season's going in your opinion so far?
Well, I mean, Thief River Falls really came out of the gate. They won 18 straight. They came close to breaking a league record for consecutive wins, and then finally lost at home to the English River Miners for 4 consecutive weeks, Thief River Falls. And the Orskies are only in their second year of operation. For 4 straight weeks, like I mentioned, they were the number 1 team in the CJHL rankings and are still up there. They were number 2 heading into this past weekend. So they've really been the cream of the crop for sure. Dryden, again, hosting the Dudley Hewitt Cup. They're tinkering with their lineup somewhat, but we know definitely will be a force to be reckoned with. And again, they're in the Dudley Hewitt Cup come May as they host that tournament in Dryden. Thunder Bay North Stars have really come along with a really nice club now. They've had a lot more depth. They have a couple of great 16-year-old players in Keegan Gary, who has been selected to attend the Team Canada West camp for the World Junior A Challenge next month. He's a London Knights draft pick as well. Bradley Belisle, Owen Belisle, Bradley's brother, is another really good 16-year-old on the Thunder Bay lineup. So, and then everybody else is kind of hanging in there. Fort Francis, English River, Minnesota has been off to a really tough start, but they've been in most of their games. And, Fort Francis and English River are kind of right now battling for that 4th, 5th spot. And English River had a really good road trip recently. They had a 4-game road trip and picked up 7 out of a possible 8 points. So, again, it's very competitive. There's a lot of parity, especially from 1 through 5. And it'll be interesting to see at the end of the year who's in first and has that bye in the first round of the playoffs.
And Thunder Bay also has Dougie Newhouse, who's a Sioux Greyhound draft pick also, don't they?
That's right. Yeah, Dougie just came back. His brother Joe is a veteran blue liner on the North Stars defense, and will be at the All-Star game as well. And Dougie actually played a really great game over the weekend. They played here at home in Thunder Bay against Dryden and won 2-1 in overtime. And he was the first star and played really well. Bigger goaltender that really tracks the puck well and fills the net. And he's been a big addition to add on to the Thunder Bay goaltending tandem, along with Brandon Bodner, who played for Fort Francis last year and is now attending school here in Thunder Bay at Confederation College.
Now, the big thing I use in the fall of 2017, the OJHL went to a full face mask. Now, what's your opinion on that decision, and will the SIJHL follow?
Well, it's very interesting. I know that talking to Marty Savoy, their commissioner, about it, and it sounds like it was almost unanimously approved by their governors. Obviously, it's a safety issue. It's something that we will definitely look at. It'll be interesting at the Dudley Hewitt Cup this year because we'll have 3 teams wearing half shields, and then the Ontario Junior League champion wearing full face masks. But I'm all about safety for sure. It's something that we will look at down the road, and obviously talk to some of our other partners within the CJHL to see what kind of pulse there is for it, and we'll go from there.
And I'm going back in the 80s where Junior A, or a lot of teams were Junior B, Junior A was changed over the years, but in the 80s, all junior teams wore full face masks. Then they went back to the half, and now the OJ. And I think again they might start a trend that CJHL again when it comes to insurance and safety. You don't know; it might just become the norm, right?
Yeah, it very well could be. I mean, like you said, Jay, back in the 1980s, we probably didn't think back then that every player in the NHL pretty much would be wearing a half visor. All the officials now in the NHL, referees and linesmen, wear a half visor rather. The game has definitely evolved. With how fast it is and how fast pucks get shot, and definitely, again, it's a safety issue. And it is kind of interesting too. I mean, these players play with full masks all their life. They come to Junior A. They're allowed to take them off and go with a half shield. And then if they go back and play NCAA hockey, for example, they have to put them back on. So it's definitely something that I know likely I can't speak for the other commissioners within the CJHL, but I know it's going to be a topic moving forward.
And the funny thing is dealing with hockey players every day and talking to them, it's like, oh, I can't handle the full face mask. And I'm thinking, you wore it for at least probably 12 years of your minor hockey career, so it's something just they have to adapt to, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this game is all about change and adapting to change, and like I said before, we'll just see where it ends up.
And no matter, like you say, the way, not just hockey, but the way sports is going, but hockey, they're fitter, they're bigger, they're stronger, they're faster now, and it's something is again, safety is the major concern, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, we want to provide a safe environment for the players, and it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. But the OJ was the first one to jump on board with this, and we'll see how it plays out.
Now, like we have mentioned, like say in May of 2018, Dryden is hosting the Dudley, and like say I was up in Fort Francis a couple of years ago when the SIJHL hosted last time. What does the Dudley Hewitt Cup do for a town like Dryden?
Well, it has a big economic impact for sure. I mean, I know we were very fortunate to host Jay and your group there at Fort Francis. That was my first year actually as commissioner of the SIJHL, and they did an amazing job. I mean, you were there, you saw it. It was a great tournament. Fort Francis lost in the final in a very close game to Sault Ste. Marie. And no doubt, I mean, you bring in all those fans, all those players, the hype that goes with it. A town like Dryden, definitely will benefit from it. There's definitely some, a huge economic spin-off when you can bring in those kind of people to fill hotels and fill restaurants for a week-long event. And it also puts the town on the map, and it also helps the fact that to give more exposure to our league and to the Ice Dogs program for sure. And it's Dryden has a great hockey history. It's the home of Chris and Sean Pronger, and we're hoping that Chris and or Sean can make the event. I had a brief chat with Chris when he was inducted into the Northwestern Ontario Sports Hall of Fame back here in Thunder Bay in September. So I mean, it's every community that's hosted one of these tournaments at any level really knows how much it can bring to the community for not just for that particular week, but for the future as well.
And for sure, we're going to see this with Coach Walston's Ice Dogs. We're sure probably still going to see a nice physical game coming out of them, even when it comes down into May, aren't we?
Oh, for sure. And them playing their games, obviously, at the Memorial Arena in Dryden, it's a bit of a smaller ice surface. As you mentioned, they like to play an aggressive style with an aggressive forecheck. They have a great home record since Kurt took over the team. This is his fourth season as well. He's done a tremendous job in recruiting. Like I said, they're still tinkering with their lineup a little bit leading up to the January 10th deadline. And they'll be a force to be reckoned with, not only in our league, but when they host the Dudley Hewitt Cup that first week of May.
And like say, to round out the questions, at the end of January, you have your annual SIJHL showcase. That's just like the All-Star Game, but the showcase also helps with bringing in scouts and people from schools to watch the players, doesn't it?
Oh, for sure. We're going to have our SIJHL showcase this year in Fort Francis at Ice for Kids Arena in Fort Francis, Ontario on January 30th and 31st. A lot of our scouts actually that come to that event like the fact that we have it in the second half because it gives them a chance to watch players with a longer body of work over the course of the season, especially some younger players that may be in their first year playing junior A hockey. So Fort Francis, again, it's a great facility. They did an amazing job hosting the Dudley, and they'll do a great job again hosting our showcase. There's 3 games a day, so everybody plays 2 games there, and they all count towards our regular season standings, so there's more incentive there because there's points on the line. So we're looking forward to having it again this year, this time in Fort Francis, and a good contingent of scouts coming out to attend the event and see what our players have to offer.
And the nice thing about having it at the end of January, it's after the deadline, so the lineups or the rosters are cemented by then. So whoever's going to finish the season with those teams, that's who's going to be on the roster, right?
Yeah, that's a very good point, Jay. Like I said before, a lot of showcases at the junior A level are in the first half of the season, and we've kept it at the end of January. Not to say that we may not change it. I mean, in our current format right now, it's probably better to have an all-star game in the second half of the season and do the showcase a bit earlier. That may happen down the road, but nevertheless, yes, the rosters will be cemented like you mentioned, and it does give the scouts, here's the team, and gives them a chance to watch them after playing 30 to 40 games already in the regular season.
Well, Bryan, I can't thank you enough, and I hope you enjoy your week this week in Minnesota, and hopefully we can talk in the new year.
Thanks, Jay. We really appreciate the coverage and all you do for us.
We'll talk soon.
Thank you.
So when are you headed to Minnesota?
I'm actually leaving later today. I'm just getting a couple of jerseys altered at our supplier this morning, and then I'm going to head down tonight. So I have a full day tomorrow. We have a dinner tomorrow night for the kids, and then Wednesday's just like a light skate practice, and then the Hall of Fame tour and lunch, and then the game skills competition at 5 and the game at 7. So yeah, it's about it takes me about 3.5 hours to get there from here. Gain an hour on the clock, so that always helps at least going down. So
the players come in tomorrow and leave Thursday morning, more or less.
They come in tomorrow. Yeah, they'll all be there about 4:00. Give or take. And no, they're all leaving after the game on Wednesday night, so they're all heading back. We've got English River, Dryden, and Fort Francis all on one bus. Thief River's bringing their guys separately. Thunder Bay's bringing their guys separately, and then Minnesota, obviously, it's just a 20-minute ride for their guys over to Eveleth. So, so we're. It's hard to believe it's already here. It's been a lot of work, but I think it's going to be a great event. So,
and that's the funny thing is, again, we all say, you look at the World Juniors. I say the NHL. Okay, the Olympics is different this year, but where you play against each other the whole season or for years, and then like you say, 3 teams are on one bus, where they're just gonna get on the bus, and players are players. As soon as they get on the bus, they're just gonna shoot the shit and everything else, and then. Well,
I hope so. I know Cerrone from English River and Jay are going to be on the same bus, and they fought earlier this year. So then on the weekend, Stout from Dryden fought Sanchez of Minnesota. They're going to be teammates come Wednesday. So yeah, it should be interesting. So
and that's like,
but you're right. Yeah, guys get on the bus and they all realize that everybody's the same. They just wear different jerseys during the year, and hopefully it'll be a nice easy ride and comfortable ride for everybody. So
it's the same as like up until 2 weeks ago, I was running the Sioux College hockey program here. They're in the ACHA Division 3 in Michigan, and just again, I'm not complaining. It was so much work, but my business was taking a hit because again, you know what it's like to run.
Yeah.
So I decided to step down and concentrate on business. But like I brought in 2 junior players who last year fought twice. And I said to the coach, I said, and he's laughing, and he knows both of them, and he goes, they get on the ice, and not on the first practice, they actually sat in the dressing room, they're talking, and they're laughing. A few other players how's this going to turn out? And they just laugh. They're going, hey, we wore 2 different jerseys at the time, that's all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know it's funny. Yeah, like I've walked into bars after repping a pro game, and 2 guys have fought in the game, and they're sitting there having a beer together, standing at the bar because they might have played together somewhere down the road, or they're just getting to know each other better. But yeah, it's funny.
It's like the NHL. You not just the NHL, even the OHL, even Junior A. Some guys will fight and they'll pat each other on the butt, going "Good fight." So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
for sure. Hey, what's the name of the Georgetown team? I call them the Raiders. I think that's the old senior team. What's their nickname again?
No, they're still the Raiders, aren't they?
I know I called them the Raiders in the interview, and I started thinking, are they the Raiders? I don't know. I can't remember.
Give me 1 second. I'm looking right here. Like I say, I'm in front of the computer. Georgetown. Yeah, still the Raiders.
Okay, good. Okay, well, I had a flashback there, and I was thinking of the old senior league for a second, the old OHA senior league. But
as soon as you said,
perfect. I got it right.
Said Raiders too. I'm thinking, again, when now like you're saying Raiders, I'm like, some teams again have changed names, but the Raiders have been Raiders since again the '80s. And
perfect.
They're still the 80s. Oh, like I say, I'm going to edit and everything, and at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, it will be up.
Awesome. Okay, Jay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, pal. Hope to see you down the road.
Yeah, and like I say, we'll talk. How about we do it a week leading up to the showcase again?
Yeah, a week or 2 before the showcase, or maybe even 2 weeks before. So if any scouts forgot about us, they might hear you.
And we can promote it, and then we can talk about how the All-Star game went too.
Awesome. I appreciate the coverage, pal.
Oh, no problem. Thank you.
Okay, take care.
Bye-bye.